Well, shalom, my name is Todd Bennett, and I'm coming to you from under the Succa in Jerusalem, Israel, and I'm here sitting in my Succa on day 2 of Sukkot, and it's also the weekly Shabbat, and so we've been resting and reading and studying today, and many people often ask me, how do you observe Sukkot? And yesterday we actually talked about a specific commandment for the first day, and it involved taking branches and boughs from goodly trees and fruitful trees and rejoicing before Yahweh during this time. And it also talked about dwelling in sukkahs. So again, people want to know how, all the ins and outs and hows, and you know, the Torah is sometimes not specific because we're meant to discover these things ourselves. Again, this is the appointed times are a walk, a Hebrew walk, and we go through these rehearsals year after year, and we learn more and more every year. So I always recommend that people just read the scriptures, and then start to obey and go from there. It's funny because I actually saw a 45-minute video on YouTube from a rabbinic Jew on how to build a kosher sukkah. And of course, you know, I have a better idea. Don't ask a rabbi how to build a sukkah, because you're going to end up getting all sorts of rules and regulations and things that aren't in the Torah. That's what happens many times, is they add to and take away from the Torah. I got a better suggestion. Ask a Bedouin, all right? Because this is really, the sukkahs are supposed to be the structure of a Bedouin. There is no perfect way to build a sukkah. The point is, it's supposed to be a temporary dwelling. It's supposed to be something that's put up, not meant to last. It just provides you with the basics of shelter. And of course, it's a very Bedouin structure. And of course, we even see this whole pattern of a Bedouin lifestyle built into the appointed times. We start out the appointed times in month 1 with unleavened bread, the flat bread of a Bedouin, and we end up this journey, this cycle of the appointed times, living in sukkahs, the dwelling places of Bedouins. So this is supposed to be teaching us things about being Bedouins in this nomadic lifestyle that's so intimate in our understanding of the Creator, the agriculture, and the nomadic lifestyle. And in fact, the first time we read about Sukkot is from one of our patriarchs who was a nomad. And we read in Genesis 33:17, and Yaakov journeyed to Sukkot, built himself a house, and made booths for his livestock. Therefore, the name of the place is called Sukkot. Now, that's the first time we read about Sukkot. And Jacob had just divided his family. He'd sent them across over into the promised land. He'd wrestled with Elohim. He'd received his new name, Yisrael, and then crossed over himself at Et Peniel and was reunited with his family. There's all sorts of real significance built into this whole event. But he met with Esau, and then he journeyed. The text says he journeyed to Sukkot. And the word for journey is nasa. It means pulled up, especially referring to pulling up tent pegs or tent pins. And the text says that he made a house for himself and Sukkot for his miknah. Now, the word is often translated, miknah is often translated as livestock, but it literally means something acquired. It means possessions. And now his possessions likely included many sheep and cattle, so we see that the livestock were probably in the Sukkot. The root for the word miknah is Cana or Cana. And of course, the symbolism for this is really profound. Cana was the place where Messiah Yeshua performed his first recorded miracle at a wedding. And he was revealing that he would acquire Cana, a bride, through his blood. And that's why it involved a miracle of turning water into wine. It symbolized the blood, because the water being used was set apart water. It was pure waters of purification, and they were probably used by the bride for that wedding. So he used these vessels which were for the waters of purification, and he turned the water into wine, symbolizing the blood that he would shed for his bride. So Sukkot is a perfect rehearsal for those of us journeying out of Babylon to the promised land. And speaking of Babylon and leaving Babylon, while in the land, I'll be finishing up the Leaving Babylon series. And this is a 22-part series about our journey out of religion, out of religious systems and Western culture, and it points to the ancient path of the covenant journey. Now, the way is marked by the appointed times. These are special appointments for us to observe that keep us on that path. We see the weekly Shabbat and the annual appointed times. As we walk through these cycles, it keeps us on the ancient path, on that covenant path. I would encourage you to check out that series if you haven't done so up to this point. It's filled with information to help you along your Masa, your journey. So may your time in the Sukkah remind us to take an account of our possessions, your possessions. You can't fit too much into a Sukkah, only the important stuff, and maybe this is a good time to take inventory so that when it's time to pull up your tent stakes and continue on your journey, you don't find yourself with more than you can carry. And I know all of us that are coming out of Babylon really need this lesson. We are filled with possessions. We have houses full of possessions. And so I think this rehearsal of Sukkot is especially helpful for us in this journey out of Babylon. We need to minimize our possessions, which are really distractions on this walk. In fact, when the cry goes out, we read about in Matthew 25, when the cry goes out and the master returns, the only thing we want to be possessing is oil in our lamps. Everything else is just a distraction. So today is the only weekly Shabbat that occurs during the 7-day week of Sukkot, and therefore it has special significance as we rejoice and look forward to a future Sukkot when we can dwell with Him and find true rest. And I hope that your celebration is filled with joy and rest, and that you come out of this time with greater clarity and direction as you leave Sukkot to the next place in your journey, which in the scriptures was Shechem, and we'll talk about that next time. For now, my name is Todd Bennett from Jerusalem. Shabbat Shalom and Hag Sameach.